In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GuMPer morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GuMPer.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, GuMPers.
Carl Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show live stream and the podcast. Mrs. M is in the studio. You might hear her tapping on the keyboard in the corner. But thank you, Mrs. M, for shutting the door so the washing machine noise is not coming into the studio. Will you be joining me a little bit later on? Maybe. Okay. Be like that. Mrs. M, I hope will be joining us later on to talk about the upcoming Barefoot broadcast, which some of you may be interested in. Others will be thinking, no way am I indulging in all that hippie conspiracy theory nonsense. Then what if I have something to do with it? It's a conspiracy of happiness, everybody. So hopefully she'll be joining us, I don't know, maybe in about an hour's time with a nice cup of coffee. See what I did there? And a quick chat about the new upcoming... Oh, thank you. Some cold coffee from last night. The upcoming, the all brand new age, old school Barefoot broadcast. And I have to be really careful because I am imposing myself a little bit with the editorial values of the said new show. It is under the leadership of Mrs. M, and I will be a mere correspondent, including my woke years, my diary sort of journaling blog recollections of when I was proper woke my goodness, 30 years ago. I was woke before it was fashionable. So anyway, more about that later on in the show. I am a little bit overwhelmed this morning. There's a lot of great information that's come in the last 24 hours or so. We've got footage from Owen at a recent beer fest. We've got news of another beer fest coming up in Castanheira de Pera in central Portugal, where a few of the man cavers are going. We've got an unboxing. I think that's what the youngsters call it on YouTube. We have an unboxing of a Good Morning Portugal bit of merch, and there was a little clue to that earlier on. Yes, mugs are back, and that's Lee McGrady's, head gardener Lee McGrady's mug on his balcony in Lisbon. Isn't that a beautiful sight? The blue sky of Lisbon, of which we see, 300 days of that, a year of sunshine, and 65 or so days of rain and wind. It has been a bit like that in some of the more recent years. Thank you, Lee, for that fantastic picture. Any other mug shots? Very welcome. You know the number if you're a regular, 913-590-303. Talking of blue skies, it is 18 degrees outside. It's definitely cooled down. I've been acclimatized as I am to Portuguese weather now. I have been walking the dogs with a coat on in August, which when I first got here nearly 6 years ago, I'd have been out in a string vest at this time of year thinking, wow, it's so hot. I don't know if I'll sleep tonight. But now, I think my body's fully acclimatized. And I now, if I'm going out late at night or first thing in the morning, I put a coat on like a proper Portuguese person. Actually, no, I don't put two coats on like a proper Portuguese person. Talking about proper Portuguese people, we're going to be talking about this matter of marketing here in Portugal. It's not right or wrong, it's just different. I had a question yesterday from Chris, who snuck into his communications with me a little bit sneakily because he threw me with this. Do you have a list of local festas, activities and events? And I thought, I like to be helpful, so I thought I would send a list of events, festas, and what was the other thing? I can't see him now. Oh, yeah. Local festas, activities and events. But instead, I sent back 3 laughing emoticons, emojis, because there is no such thing here in Portugal, is there? A list of events happening. You don't really find out about events in Portugal until you see a poster and you realize it happened 3 years ago, 3 days ago, 3 hours ago. And the thing about Portuguese marketing is like everyone knows when it's on, or everyone else, all the Portuguese people know when it's on. And I mean, there is famously the what's it called? Time Out Market. Yeah, Time Out Market in Costa de Sodré means that there is a Time Out magazine, I believe. I have seen that in Lisbon, and you might expect that of a thriving, bustling capital city. But in the sticks, everyone knows when the festas are on, and they don't need to just. Well, they do put posters up, I think, to remind people on the road sometimes. But there aren't. Somebody was saying to me again the other day, "Oh, I want to sell some bicycles. Do news agents have small ads in the winter?" No, not that I'm aware of, anyway. And the whole thing of leafleting and marketing, it's not like that here. So I would welcome your ideas about that this morning as we try and help Chris out, who's on his way to Portugal. There is no one way, says Fiona. We've already had some feedback via Facebook. There is no one way with the confused emoji. Or, ha, you're having a laugh, aren't you? Emoji. If you're lucky, there are sometimes posters. If you're lucky, see, there are sometimes posters up in local shops. Vitally, they often forget to mention a location or time because the local people know. What's this other bit of text that's coming? Oh, I'll come back to that. That's to do with me 50 plus shapeshift, which I've got to tell you, I'm really enjoying. Went to the gym yesterday, sleeping better, drinking more water, spending time in the sunshine, walking, going to the gym. It's quite amazing. In fact, I'll share that now. This is a character called Ted Rice, not my trainer. My trainer is the mighty Henry Jeffries, and I'm so glad of his excellent feedback yesterday on how I'm doing. It's very encouraging. Things seem to be going quite well. Whenever I walk past Mrs. M, she wolf whistles. Well, in my mind, she does.
I think I asked you to just do double take.
Did you? Did you ask me to walk across the room one more time last night? Oh, yeah, to turn the bathroom light off.
Yes, I did.
Very good. I see what you did there. Now,
I'd like to see your body.
one more time and turn the bathroom light off while you're there. Yeah, okay. Ted Rice says, getting lean does more for you than transform your body. It changes the way you see yourself. Check. It changes how you view obstacles in your life. Now, this I wasn't expecting. But check, it really does. I'm getting fit. I'm going to get fit financially, as in we're going to be setting up a company with Raquel, not with Raquel. We're not going into partnership with Raquel, but we're going through the process of setting up a Portuguese company under which we trade. At the moment, we work on the green receipt system. But the point I'm making is that changes are afoot, and things that have felt like obstacles in my life, I am treating like a lat pec machine or the Pec Fly Boss Walk Jam Nitty Gritty machine that you have in the gym. They've got some funny names. But obstacles, even after just 2 weeks thinking about it and 1 week going on the program in earnest, I am viewing obstacles in my life differently. It also changes how others see you. Your wife, she'll tell you more about that later. Your kids, your clients. I have a recording of the kids saying, wow, Daddy's going to be buff, that Mrs. M has made as well. And I don't know if my clients are seeing me differently. I will let them comment on that. It transforms, not transforms, that's different. It transforms every area of your life for the better. I imagine, like with everything, some things are for the worse. Nothing comes alone, does it? There may be benefits. And this is what another thing I'm beginning to realize in life is that anything that we think of as good will also have with it some negative qualities. And we just have to put up with that as human beings, don't we? Nothing's all good or all bad, it would seem. But don't test me on that. Don't throw in the ultimate, well, this is all bad, Carl. Yes, obviously, there are things in the world that we would rather not have to face as human beings. But I think you get the general gist. Not every piece of wisdom I utter on this show, or anyone else for that matter, or attempts at wisdom, let me put it like that, can be met with forensic scrutiny. It's just a pointer in the right direction, isn't it? Look at the moon, not the hand pointing at it or the finger pointing at it. So lots to squeeze in this morning. It is a fifth Tuesday today. So when we have, if you've noticed, oh, Sarah, I'm so distracted by your comment, which I will return to in just a moment. Oh, what was I saying? You so distracted me. I've forgotten that you see Pete's testing that theory. Bacalhau is all bad. I didn't say that. Pete did, and he's even spelt it wrong in his disdain for the said preserved cod. So it's not Pete. You just haven't had the right recipe yet. Again, that could be wisdom used in life, isn't it? If you don't like X, it's because you haven't had the right recipe yet. Does that stand up? Does that stand up to wisdomic scrutiny? Where was I going with that? I don't know. And I'll probably remember after I finish the show today, as well as the reason I walked into rooms, not remembering why I went in there. But I can always find something to do in there, in this house. Welcome to Groundhog Day, says Alan Partridge. Now, this is very, very special. Knowing me, Carl Munson, knowing you, Alan Partridge. Aha! How... Thank you, Mrs. M, getting into the spirit of it. Welcome to Groundhog Day. We've got a little bit now. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. We had Ophelia Ball yesterday. Now I don't think. Yeah, somebody called Ophelia Ball. I doubt they were called. No, a parent who calls their child Ophelia Ball hasn't really thought it through, have they? Or they just don't like the child, perhaps. I don't know. And we have somebody, I mean, actually, the joke might be on me because this could actually be Alan Partridge, who's now watching the show and picking up notes or seeing how deeply I have been influenced by him. So, Alan, it is a great honor. I would have thought you'd be having a sleep after doing your early morning breakfast show on, I forget what it's called now. Others will help me out here. But in Norwich, as you might say if you're American, in the United Kingdom. And I'm sure Alan will have something to say about that. Welcome to Groundhog Day, says Alan. And today's special quiz, what does the O in Portugal stand for in Portuguese and why? I'm trying to think. I don't think it's an actual question. I think it's a bit of satire. Now, I think we've come a long way if there are satirical comments about us in the chat from somebody. Well, I don't know. It might not be somebody pretending to be Alan. It might actually be Alan in there with us this morning. Deagle's in. Great to see you, Deagle. Bon dia, Carl and Gumpers from a dry. Are you waving to somebody in the garden? Because there shouldn't be anyone in our garden. Okay, just calming the pet life in the garden. Bon dia, Carl and Gumpers from a dry Belfast. 12 degrees. Should go to 17 degrees. There she goes with clothes on this time. A promising weekend, dry, sunny weather highs of 20 to 21 degrees. Good for you, Deagle. And making the comment there are lots of stranded flights across the UK and Ireland and Europe due to major air traffic control failure. Bon dia, mio amigo, says Coach Turner. Deagle is right. So I hope it's sorted by tomorrow morning as Mrs. T and I are heading to Malaga. Fingers crossed. We'll have a super time there. Bon voyage to you and your trip to Malaga, to the Iberian Peninsula. That's fantastic. God's God tip of the day then. I really like this. And it's very educational, about food, about fitness, about health, and about society, isn't it? A million years ago, when I was in the Scouts, and I hope Mrs. M's listening to this because she'll have something to say when she joins us about this. No, this is Coach Turner was in the Scouts. I might, like many things in my childhood, I might have gone once. A million years ago, when I was in the Scouts, what's happening now? Jimmy Choo is bursting into, it's kicking off behind me now. Oh, no, he said short shrift from Mrs. M. He knows when she speaks, he must obey. A million years ago, when I was in the Scouts for the third time, we had a poster on the wall about nutrition. It basically said, eat a balanced diet with plenty of vegetables and oily fish. There you go, Pete. Bacalhau isn't all bad. And he goes on to say, all of the latest research shows that poster. Is it because those Scouts grew up to be researchers, though, Coach? Now nearly 60 years old, that poster, it was absolutely correct. Eating a wide range of plant-based foods will help build and maintain a healthy gut. I'm happy. I'm comfortable with that. Now, probably what was happening 60 years ago, it was the beginnings, wasn't it, of the corporatocracy. I mean, maybe it was already in flow by then. What are we talking about? I think it was beginning, wasn't it? If you've watched Mad Men, you'll get a sense, won't you, that the milk marketing board, the egg where I grew up, where I might have been a Scout, if not for being such a lazy child. The man who invented the phrase "go to work on an egg," he lived in my little area where I grew up in London, and this sort of advertising and marketing was beginning, wasn't it? And people like Kellogg's, what should we do with all these corn kernels that are probably not good enough for human consumption. I know we'll press them flat, roast them, and make them good enough for human consumption by telling people that they will die within 3 days if you don't start eating them. Because you were able to do things like that, I suspect, with advertising in the 1960s, late 50s, 60s, and 70s. And so began the whole process of what would it be? Food propaganda. But I take your point, absolutely take your point, Coach Turner. And things have changed in those 60 years, haven't they? When you see the likes of McDonald's sponsoring, a sports court. My local gym, interestingly, no, not my local gym, my local cake shop, Atelier de Dos, where we went. My local gym is sponsoring the triathlon. That's why I was confused there. And here is a picture of me getting ready for the or getting ready to stand on the triathlon podium. Not actually going to be entering into the triathlon, but here's my training for getting up and down from the podium. Looking pretty good, I would say. And you'll see on there, you see my gym, and I think Atelier de Dos are on there as well. If I remove your comment, I think the cake shop, that's a smart move, isn't it? I think, yes, Atelier de Dos are on there. It's like, have a bolo de Berlin full of sweet custard. They are very good. And then go run a marathon just to balance things up a bit. But that's a good effort. But I think you take my point. Oh, yeah, Kellogg himself says, Banana Slug, he was the one who said breakfast is the most important meal of the day, with the sentiment of which intermittent fasters would disagree with. And so began all this stuff. Breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper. Is that as well? Is that true as well? Bernard Matthews. Aha! No, wrong. Norwichian. What are people from Norwich and Norfolk called? Norfolkians? Norfolk, perhaps. Bernard Matthews. He changed the game with a bit of turkey-related advertising. I imagine he paid a lot of money to PR companies as well. I took that photo. He did my trainer. It was a sign, Henry. I was trying to remember who took that photo, and you took it most excellently there. Do I get extra marks from you, Trainer Henry, for getting onto the triathlon podium, setting my sights really high? Now, in a more extreme moment, I was, sod it, I am going to take part in a triathlon. I just don't think I'm a strong enough swimmer or runner or cyclist to do that. So let's go back to your comments this morning. Thank you, Coach T, for that. It's made me quite giddy thinking about all this stuff and with this sense of overwhelmment. And now a kitten. Hello. If the kitten's about to walk on the keyboard. Should we let him do that and see what happens? And do you want to walk on the sound effects as well? And see, there you go. There's a kitten tail going past my face. Full display of the tea towel holder right in my boat race. Right there. Thank you, Coach Turner, for that. Where were we? Norwich is thought of by some as the center of the universe, but have you seen the size of their foreheads? As somebody with a large forehead, no, I don't think I can have you. Just say hello to everybody, and then it's off, basically, because you're trouble, kitten. Look into the camera and say hello. Good morning to everybody. There you go. Go see mummy. Very good. He'll be back. We know that, don't we? And he's just trodden on something that's got rid of all the comments. No, here we go. They're back. I've got a large forehead, Coach Turner. You must have noticed. But I'm not from Norwich, and I'm not sure exactly what point you're making there, Coach T. There's no trainer can change the size of my forehead. I don't suppose. Banana Slug was in at 8:12. T-Duck on a special mission this morning. So we won't be seeing T-Duck on the screen here this morning. But there are dad jokes. Don't worry. There are dad jokes. Fear not. And at 8:12 this morning, Banana Slug James was in. Bon dia todos. Feliz terça. Have you got your names of the week nailed? One of the easier things, isn't it, when you apply yourself to it here in Portugal? Como vão as coisas? How are things with you? Jean's in as well. Saudações a todos. Good greetings. Do we go with greetings for saudações? Bom dia, de bela fresca, bela e solarenga, Moncarapaccio this morning. So a bit chilly, but sunny nonetheless there in Moncarapaccio. And Owen, We'll come to your video, fabulous beer tasting videos in just a moment. I know it's a bit early. Drink responsibly, everybody. I don't need to tell you that. You're all grown-ups. Actually, for some of you, I do need to tell you that. Byrondrae is in. We've got a walk with Byrondrae through the countryside as well. Bom dia, garotos, as well. Love those greetings. I bet that's what your Portuguese pals call you. Dad joke warning then, a quick hey. The only thing flat earthers fear is sphere itself. Very good. Very, very good. And Ubi is in. Bon dia, Antonio F. E. Atores. We haven't had your Trump insult of the day, Ubi. There's still time. Bon dia, Ubi from Antonio. Has your mug arrived yet, Antonio? Good morning, Carl. Still in the Cotswolds, but with 4 donkeys. That's fewer than you had before, is it not? Good to see you. And there was always a threat in the air, wasn't there, that we would see you in Portugal. Taking donkeys to Portugal, is that like taking sand to the Middle East or ice to the Eskimos? I don't know. It probably is, isn't it? But I'm glad to hear you have got a nice ass or two there in the Cotswolds. Jeff, couldn't resist it. And Mutar Squid, bon dia, everyone, as well. And this was the comment that really caught my eye earlier on. Your skin looks healthy and luminous too, Carl. Well, I have to share. I have to give some of the credit to the studio lighting, I think. But maybe if Mrs. M comes and licks my face during the show, she'll be able to tell you firsthand. She's not. She's from the sound she just made. I don't think that's going to be happening. Which L? Another question from Alan. Alan, you've got your own show. But this is good. Which L is the best Portuguese family holiday destination? Lisboa, Lagos, or let's go to Spain instead? Thank you very much. But don't do the last one. Cat the kitten is back. Hola, bon dia, Chris. How are you doing? And the Bacalhau spell check. Spell check a Bacalhau hater this morning. Thank you very much for that point of order, Antonio. Bon dia, Carlos from Henry. And we have Portugal has such beautiful fish from Pete. Yeah, why would you eat bacalhau? I think is the point he's making when you can eat fresh grilled fish here. I think it is a matter of the right recipe for you, for sure, Pete. And are you willing to take that on as a challenge, Peter? Pete's Bacalhau challenge, where we have him ultimately saying, yeah, I was wrong about Bacalhau all along. I love it, Abrash or Akaza. And God knows there are enough recipes, Pete, for you to find one you like. I ran into a really nice gym in Agada. They had outdoor space and everything. Normally, don't see great gyms in Portugal. Is that right, Motard? Had you already thrown out the cat? Yeah. He's learned how to open the door. If you look behind you, the door is ajar, so to speak. Yes, Kellogg's and others who changed the game, didn't they? You know, and since I've been on this more mindful approach to food, weighing things, being aware of what makes up foods, you know, it's taken me a long time to get to that. And I thought it was for other people. I view the supermarket. In fact, I view food in a more sacred way. That's another benefit. I've actually become more mindful about eating. I think it really helps to slow down the eating and savor your food, especially when you've only got a snack portion, so to speak, of 25 grams of nuts. I mean, I'm shocked by how little food that is. And I'm slowing down and I'm looking at things in a more precious way. Each cashew nut now I assess individually and even have a little conversation here. My goodness, you're a fine specimen. I'm not talking to myself in the gym, in the mirror, not yet. I'm looking at a cashew nut and thinking to myself, I wonder how many calories you are. You're very beautiful, and I'm going to eat you now, and I'm going to take my time doing it. It is changing everything. This changes everything. Norfocus says, got to be careful how you say that, I think. Ubi, thank you very much. And says Trainer Henry, if you want that, I've got to say, because I knew nothing about it and still know very little, Henry, that when I said the Robert Kennedy Jr. body was the one I wanted, I realized that is going to take me probably my same lifespan again to get to. I don't mind scaling it back a little bit from, I'm not sure if Mrs. M wants to lie on a washboard either. Beautiful turkey Twizzlers. There you go. Here's a nice memory from the past with fried onion rings. All of these things from a certain childhood in the 70s and 80s when they were peddling processed foods for the first time and actually getting away with telling us how good. Well, they're still getting away with telling us how good they are, right? With all that hidden salt and sugar and oils that we shouldn't be eating. If you want the RFK buff look, says Hendrik, you'll have more protein. You'll need more protein than people ate 60 years ago. So plenty of oily fish. And it must be so interesting to look at how nutrition has changed as a trainer as well. Norwich and Norfolk. Should read this before. I can't. I probably can't read this without for fear of. You can see it for yourself there as Pete gets fully stuck in with his filter button. Well, he smashed that long ago, didn't he? his filter. You could easily tackle the expanding forehead by simply growing one side of your hair extensively. And what do you think I'm doing, Peter? You have to work in conjunction with a good barber who doesn't say too much about it, but just kind of gets the idea. You're in Portugal. You're either going to a very, what I thought was a very rude barber who just says outright, hairdresser, have you ever thought of having a hair transplant? My God, I spat my coffee when she said that to me. Or a more sensitive and probably male barber who understands a little better the importance of this matter and starts combing it over for you and gives you a knowing wink in the mirror. You're looking at their mirror reflection behind you as they carefully help you build your first comb over. It's like learning to walk, isn't it? It's a significant time in a certain man's age when he begins to build his first comb over. Thank you. Follow Pete on Insta for other tips like that. Pete, you should have a lifestyle Instagram, I think, with such excellent advice. I can barely hear. Oh, I see. Hey, I thought I'd had the volume down too low, the microphones. No, hedge trimming in progress across the road, says Suze this morning. Good morning to you, Suze. That's all right. I'm glad they're on it. Yeah, just turn us up a little bit on your big screen telly there, the way that I'll keep your eye on the post, Antonio. The way that I know you consume the you got many ways of doing that, haven't you, Suze? If I remember correctly from a photograph you sent. Also, yes, very good, excellent insight here. Be careful how you say knife and focus in Portuguese. I knew about knife. Yeah, focus. Now you mention it. Yes, Nunu. When Nunu says focus in webinars, it does bring me to the edge of my seat, I've got to say. Super free walk run in Agada on the 10th of next month. Motard Squared, details on the GuMPer map. Now, of course, answering this question, and I need your help too, the primary answer to how you know what's going on in Portugal is to go to the GuMPer map. And I think we need more help from more people on the GuMPer map. But this is the answer to the prayers of such people as Chris, who very innocently asked the question this morning. My goodness, giving BS a hand. You've got to be careful sending me messages like that. Oh, and thanks for the mugshot as well, James, this morning, which I'm just downloading now. Yeah, we'll have a look at the GuMPer map in just a moment. I wonder if the phone is connected to the, just like your foot bone's connected to your ankle bone. Is the phone bone connected to the mixer bone this morning? I just need to check and make sure that's the case, because you might want to phone in with your tips on how to stay in touch, how to list events, activities, and festas, as Chris was asking earlier on, or yesterday, in fact, in the last 24 hours, which prompted the name and theme of the show this morning. Let me just make sure we are connected, and you then can call in. Yes, we are connected, I believe, on 913-590-303 if you want to call in this morning. And you might want instructions on how to update the GuMPer map. We've done a video on that. So there is no excuse, and there's no need for that sort of language, Mr. S, on the screen at the moment. As Giles Corran pointed out, the UK and Portuguese alliance is based on cuisine. Well, certainly, yes, we've got tea, haven't we, to thank the Portuguese for, and fish and chips has a Portuguese connection, doesn't it? And there are many more, I'm sure. One based not on political expedience, but a mutual love of soggy cod, white bread, overcooked potatoes, plain cheese, sweet wine, and cold custard. I'm not aware of that bacalhau recipe, although I would try it. Yes, watching on TV, texting on connected iPhone. Nice one, Suze. And do they have park run? Are those the open air gyms, or is that a special brand of gym? Henry, I wonder. And Mr. S, precious uma faca. You might say, do you need a knife? Or queriam faca or mafaca would be something that is uttered in a Portuguese restaurant. And try and keep a straight face and an unruffled eyebrow while you're doing so. Thank you for all your comments thus far. A lot of people in this morning. Great to see you. Thank you for being here, including you, Alan Partridge, who seems to have maybe gone to a production meeting or to pitch a few ideas at the BBC. Let me share with you now, Mrs. M upcoming soon to talk about. No. You, it's fine. There's enough time to heat up a bit of old coffee. Yeah, I'm not going to waste it. I'm going to reheat that cold coffee from last night. Is that a bad habit? I remember the first time someone suggested to me, I thought it was a disgusting idea. Coffee should be fresh, shouldn't it? But then, there's only one thing worse than cold coffee or old coffee, and that's no coffee. Good morning, Carl. Yes, with the 4 donkeys. We haven't had a ass update, have we, from Jeff? So is that more or less, Jeff? We're going to go now to a beer festival in Portugal, where Owen was over the weekend. I think it was actually, it's a misnomer from me. I think it was a cider festival. We'll find out now. Let's have a look at Owen's videos. Sit back and relax and watch what has gone on here. I am not sure I've got these in the right order, but I'm sure we can make sense of it. Brilliant as intelligent as we are, which of course is a prerequisite for watching the Good Morning Portugal show. Thank you, Owen, for these.
So we've arrived at the spot, the first spot of the day. Let me just try and turn the camera around, just see where we are. What a beautiful location. We haven't got to the hops fields yet, but we have got a beautiful river beach that we've arrived at. And this is where we'll be cooling off later on. Good morning to whoever that is. But yeah, so this is everybody that's arrived here today that's going to give a hand with the collection of the hops. As I say, what a beautiful setting. Can't beat this for a Saturday morning, stroke afternoon. How clear the water is. Yeah, so we're all here, we're all gathering and just waiting. Got the guys just setting up yet another food truck there in the background, and 1 or 2 refreshments before we actually go out and do the hop picking. So that's the next step of the journey complete. I will post some photographs, as I say, later on. But for now, I'll leave you with the beautiful scenery that we have here, while waiting for the other people to arrive before we go on to do the harvest itself. And I'll see you in a bit.
I feel calmed by that vista. I'm not sure about you. Isn't that beautiful? And that is just getting ready for the hop picking then, which Owen was involved in. I think for the first time, let's have a look at a few stills from the weekend as well. Sorry, I haven't made better sense or order of these, but I'm sure you'll get the gist here. This is fantastic. And yeah, we'll be leaping around chronologically. There's a cider for sure. And I have complained, actually, talking of mass marketing of foods and drinks. I saw a hilarious... is it Summersby? But one of the big cider brands, and there's a lot of swearing in it. It wouldn't happen in UK. The amount of swearing and bleeping that was in this cider ad, but it looks pretty hilarious. And I'm going to have to go back and decode it. It looks like an Alan Tajano farmer in his field with his donkey talking about a particular cider. I think it's Summersby. And I've always thought that about cider here. Why is it in a country where we grow so many apples and pears here for Perry, of course? There doesn't appear to be a cider maker. Well, there is now, so look at that. I'm not sure what that brand is. With that angle on the photograph, Owen, what is the full name of that cider brand there? Primary ingredient, agua. Second ingredient, apples. Now, top scrumpy would be all apples, wouldn't it? It's interesting that that's mainly water, but I'm sure that tasted delicious and was beautiful on a hot Portuguese summer's day. So here we are. That's a bit of a hop gathering going on there, isn't it? So it must have been a beer and cider festival. No hops in cider. I wonder if anyone's ever tried that. That presumably is the hops going into a big vat or whatever the name is, the right name in brewing circles. And there, of course, that must be Owen. They're picking hops, fantastic photo of you, Owen, getting involved in the hop harvest, like being in Kent in the UK in the 1950s, isn't it? And a DJ, of course. There's got to be food trucks and music at any Portuguese gathering. What was that selector like? Was he playing cider and booze-related tunes at the hop picking there? Let's go to your second video then, Owen. Thank you so much for taking the time to do and share these with us. Here we are, the further adventures of Owen at the weekend, at the hop picking and a bit of beer festa action as well.
So we've got Arturo here from Peninsula Brewery, and he's pouring my drink. You know, I like my dark ales, my porters and my stouts. This is amazing. Great coffee and chocolate tones to it, and it's lovely and thick as well. But how's that for a pour? There we go. And the exchange of the beer tokens. So can you tell us a little bit about the beer?
Well, this is an imperial stout, double mash imperial stout is what we call it. It's when you take you mash in with your malt. You do one mash, like you put the water in, you take the sugars out of the grain, take the grain, the spent grain out, and you put new grain in. So you get like all the sugars from it like twice. So that's how you get to a 12% beer.
Cool.
That is thick and creamy, and it's all chocolate, it's all roasted malt notes, tobacco, leather. It's like all the goodies.
That's it. And just look at that. Just look at that. And I'm going to give a bit of a taste. And Arturo just give me a little bit of a top up here. Look at that head. Oh, you could stick a flake in the top of their head. Yeah. Cheers, man.
Have it with a spoon or something like that.
Arturo, thank you very much.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. I'm going to have a taste, guys. Oh, that is so good. Coffee, chocolate, woody. Really, really good. Really, really good. So I'm going to turn the camera back around again. So we have a few stands here with all the beers. We have the bandstand up there. We've got Scott with an empty glass. So there's bands playing. There's also a DJ playing as well. And like I say, more bars down there. And there's even a chocolataria, an artisan chocolate shop there as well, on this little square. And the brewery is just behind me. There's a little cider brewery in the corner over there. And we've got all the food trucks. And we have a brand new cider being premiered at about 6 o'clock tonight. So I'm going to come back to you later on when it is time for the cider. So for now, I'm going to continue on and drink this, and I'll see you in a short while. Cheerio for now.
Thank you very much, Darren. I think your question might be answered in just a moment. I have a message in from Owen. We're talking about up north, not too far for you to go, up Pontelima way there, Darren. Good to see you this morning. A message in from Owen.
Hi, Carl. It actually was the beer festival. The beer festival was in Villaverde. We ended up picking the hops at that first video spot there. And
incoming.
Then there was a cider festival in Ponta de Lima in the evening, which I didn't go to, but I believe it was very, very good.
Okay. Thank you very much for that update there. What a busy weekend. What a fantastic and busy weekend up there in the north, in and around Pontelima there. So there you go, Darren. And this is what that's the main theme of the. Do you need something there, Mrs. M? Are you joining us?
Yeah, I was wondering if you were going to bring up a screen for me. Are you ready for me? Do you want me at half 9?
Do you need me to duplicate?
Yeah,
or extend?
Do you want me at 9:30 instead?
I'll have you at 9:30.
Okie dokes.
If that's all right. Thank you. I love voices off. That's fantastic. And isn't that microphone great? I had listened to myself in that yesterday, and there's just something about that microphone. You know, I've said to people when I've been talking to people about podcasts, don't worry about it. Just use your phone. Just get on with it. But listening through that microphone, the other one that Mrs. M uses, I was thinking, my goodness, there can be a massive difference in microphones. So learning all the time and challenging my own prejudices must be something to do with going to the gym again. Thank you, Jenny. Good morning, and thank you for being here. Sounds like a man. I missed those keywords. Was that to do with stout or delicious or chocolatey? Does that tell us something about your taste in men there? There is always something going on in Portugal I can't keep up. And that's what I began to say to you, Darren, is that is the theme of the show today. How do we keep up? How do we know what's going on in here in Portugal? Oh, leather and woody. Sounds like a man in a glass. Okay, maybe you are particularly fond of lederhosen troops and that sort of thing there. Jenny, good to see you. And sorry, keep distracting myself. Keep seeing fantastic comments on the screen. Keep them coming. And on 913-590-303, as Owen did, sent in a message if you want to do that. It's so easy. Once you start using the voice message facility on WhatsApp, it's like a new world opening up. You can send yourself messages like that if you want to do a little note to self or a memo, jot a little idea down. Anyone else use WhatsApp as a note to self platform? I do. I'm always sending myself stuff on WhatsApp, and you can too. 913-590-303. Yes, Darren, the main thrust of today's show is to help the newcomers, scouts, and those of us who've lived here for years, in fact, to understand what's going on and when. So what's on in Portugal? No idea, was my first answer. And here we are bringing together a rich picture of what and what goes on in Portugal and how to find out about it. For Darren, then, Instagram is my main source of events. That's good to know. And possibly not the platform of choice for many. Most of the old farts here, I'm guessing, use old fart book. Do you not? I do. My Ukrainian girlfriend is 14 younger than me. In the net, does that make me a dirty old man? Yes. I am. That was from Alan Partridge. I am looking for a contract job in Portugal, please. Well, Leela, not exactly on point this morning, but we're glad to help. And you say you're from Algeria. Leela, you might want to send or say a little bit more about what you do, or put your LinkedIn profile up on the screen and say what sort of work you're looking for. Glad to help if we possibly can this morning. And we're going to go on a walk in just a moment with Andy, Bayrandi, or Bayrandre, as he's known in the summer months when he's hearing a lot more French in his part of Portugal. And he is the man, of course, behind what I'm going to share with you now. Talking of what's going on here in Portugal, we do, of course, have the GuMPer map, which Sarah Yerman created for us. And Andy basically picked it up and ran with it. And I'm going to go to our events and map tab on the goodmorningportugal.com website, our main website. We've got quite a few domains now, and I know I need to get that in order because it is becoming confusing. But there you go. There you see on the screen the events and map tab, which leads you to the GuMPer map. A grateful thanks, and of course, to Sarah Yerman for creating this map, and to Bayrandi for his conscientious and regular additions. Please add your own local events, points of interest, favorite restaurants, cafes, bakeries, things to do, hidden gems you've discovered. Let's see where we can go with this. Pardon the pun, is what I've got there on the site. And you'll see most of that is the wonderful work of Bayrandre. We've also got the Portimao meetup. And if I expand it on the screen, I'll need to change the view that you're seeing. And we'll have a little bit of a fertile and a deep dive and dig around with what is being shared at the moment and the GuMPer map. Very grateful to you, Sarah, for getting this going. And very grateful to you, Andy, of course, for keeping it going. And we invite you to get involved as well. Why not make your first GuMPer entry today, so to speak? Here we go. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? It is. And thanks also, of course, to Google Maps, upon which this is based. And if we zoom in, you can see a lot of going on in the Bairrada district where Andy lives, of course. A few things further out to the east, and a few things that I've popped up down here closer to the Silver Coast and Setúbal. And then just if we keep scrolling down, for instance, we can click on the Algarve meetup, the Portimao meetup, which is hosted by Jack Polly, of course, down there, and Victoria Benson. And you'll get all the details when it is, where it is, how to get in touch with the organizer, and so on. So that there is the meetup. And what's this in Stubal then? This is somebody's favorite bakery or shop here. I imagine that's Sarah. Yes, it is Sarah's favorite bread bakery. They make other stuff too, but the bread is just outstanding. So it does take a little bit of an effort to get used to it, but once you do, you get flying, as you can see Andy has here. And another one here. Let me just give you another example. The Capella do Nossa Senhora de Covões, as recommended by GuMPer Garvo and seen on Good Morning Portugal. Legends of chained soldiers and vanishing statues abound in this magical, serene location. I think I put that on there and I've forgotten about it. Let's go over to a restaurant recommendation. The Restaurant O Albertinho. This restaurant is in the Serra da Estrela Natural Park. It's great fun, great value, and serves loads of different tasters of all the local traditional Portuguese meals. We've had lunch there a few times with local coach trips on the way with the tour and on our own. We've never been disappointed with the quality and fantastic mixture of great dishes plus accordion player. Don't let that put you off. Also, then let's go a bit further north. What's our northernmost? Can you beat these? Can you go further east? You can't really go further west. But do you want to expand in some of these areas here that we're not so aware of? Do you want to be our Lisboa or Porto correspondents and furnish the map? Currently, the furthest north will be heading up towards Vigo and the beautiful, I think this is a João do Norte entry here, overlook viewpoint, the Mirador de San Antonio. Thank you very much. I think that is John who's put the northernmost GuMPer map reference there. Great job. And I'm going to put in this whopping great link. I haven't created a short link to it, but you'll get to it if you click on this, and I'll put that in the comments. But possibly the easiest way, actually, let me give you the link to the page on our website. That's going to be the easiest thing to do, and pop that on there before we go for a walk with Andy now. And I think we'll take a look at some of the news that's going on. We'll take a look at the pages of the Portugal News and Portugal Resident, which we always mean to do, and have a look at the weather and those sorts of things, but often never get around to in the hurly-burly. And it's on these fifth Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, or whatever days of the week of the month, that we get a chance to do something a little bit different. If there's something you want to talk about today that hasn't been mentioned or has been overlooked in your view, pop it in the comments and we'll chat about it, or even join me on air 913-590-303 and come and have a chat about it. That is the link to the website where you will find how not only the GuMPer map and its history, but also a little video on how to update things, again made by Andy. So very grateful to you, Andy. Very grateful to you, Sarah, and to Google, and to anyone else who may take part in that. This is the GuMPer community is we are community contributed, aren't we? So every little bit helps, and it's great. It's wonderful to be part of a community that where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So we truly are, as the GuMPers. So let me take you for a walk, or let Andy take you for a walk now in the Bairradian countryside. Thank you for doing this as well for us, Andy. Let's take a little trip with you now around the countryside, and we'll have an unboxing when we come back from this.
So here we are, getting closer to home now. You see the grapes on the vineyards, ready to harvest. That's a olive tree. Got some little olives on there as well, coming up. That was the maize, sweet corn, but they don't eat it. It's for animals, and they let it dry out. You can eat it, but you've got to get it when it's really, really young. And those corn shucks, where are we looking? Those corn shucks are they're almost white, and then they're okay. They're sweet enough. But now, and that, oh no, they've got the two lots. They used to have two lots. You have a top one and a bottom one. And they usually pick the top and then let the bottom grow. And then the tops they used to feed to the cows. Apparently, Christina's grandfather used to do. There's some pretty little flowers. That's the canes. more coming around the back of the house. And these, oh, there's a bird of prey. You can see that. And these wells now, they've been told they've got to build them up because they were too low and people were falling in them. That one there. And you've got like the traditional one over here that had the buckets on it. That the gear they used to off that top hook. They had a stick coming out that went to a donkey or a cow that we used to walk around. Turn that, which then in turn turned the wheel that way, and that wheel had a buckets on the chain, and they'd go down, scoop up the water, and then there'd be a channel, and it would drop it into channel. As you can see, there's a hole just over there, and go through there and into the fields. And there we are, some more olive trees, and there we are. And over there is home. Okay. Ooh. Catch you later. Ciao, ciao.
That, Andy, is amazing. Thank you for that. And to go back to those days, or I wonder if that's preserved anywhere. I would love to see that in action. The cattle or horse or donkey driven, for that matter, Jeff, like an animal driven well. Pulling up water, and what we see these days, of course, is just a lot of abandoned, disused wells, and that's no wonder they want them covered up and the sides built up to stop people dropping down them, or they get overgrown and people fall into them as well, don't they? But to go back to the days, I wonder if there's anywhere, if there's a visitor attraction in Portugal where you can see that in action. I'd love to do that, and I feel a little bit of sort of, a poignant moment there. Having talked to people over the last few years about how some of the, of course, I get it, with wells, we're probably not likely to see cattle-driven wells again in operation around the countryside. I may be wrong, maybe they are. And thank you, Andy, for that further instruction on using the GuMPer map. But some of these old rural skills in Portugal, I think we're very lucky to be in a country where they haven't been wiped out completely already. And, the calçada guys, I'm hoping that's something that it probably will, won't it, in Portugal? It'll be a tradition that will stick around for a long time because there are so many calçadas in use here. But old rustic ways in the countryside, your butchers, your bakers, candlestick makers, metaphorically, coopers, thatchers, all those sorts of things, although thatching is not a very good idea here in Portugal, is it? But you get the gist, the old skills. Will there be a preservation of those before they disappear, as we've seen in other countries, and how it is we're so lucky to still have sight of some of them, and we can still smell them here still in Portugal. Antonio F might know something about that. Nice video with obligatory chemtrails in the sky. Cheers, well spotted, Jeff. Let's go back to a few more of your comments as Mrs. M is limbering up. And Martine is here. A number of people have been contacting us with huge sums of money. It was 350,000 euros. It was then 700. Now it's 800,000 today. Google is a monopoly. Should we thank them? Like I was saying, Jenny, earlier on, we live in these polar times, don't we? Where a question might come up like this. Do we love or hate Google? Well, I'm becoming a little bit more tempered in my reactions and responses to such questions. It's like, yeah, they're a monopoly, and that stinks. And Google Maps is amazing as well. Thank you, Google, for that. I think we can entertain both thoughts, can't we? And we're in peril at the moment of having to be yes, no, or nuclear button in the middle of cancellation or annihilation socially. So I get your point, certainly. And it's not great that it's a monopoly. And in that sense, it's truly worrying, isn't it, that our tech landscape can be so just like the food. I began earlier on talking about corporatocracy. That's what's happening with the web. What it took 60 years to do in the food industry, the tech industry has done in 20 years, hasn't it? And accelerated the progress. With the inevitability of it is not a pretty sight. But that's not to say we don't have incredible things from Google that have helped us as well. So I think we can entertain both thoughts. And I agree with you. We should thank them for the gifts they give. And we should keep quite a keen eye on them with some of their other aspirations as well. So thank you for that, Jenny. Nikki, sure, I wish I were in Portugal as opposed to sitting here in Florida on hurricane watch. Yikes, Nikki, stay safe over there. Good morning to you. Thank you for being here. And we've got a shrug from Banana Slug. He's been conjugating in the comments, and I hope you clear up after yourself. with that. Going back to comments about cider, apparently Diane said that she met a rather attractive orchard owner the other day. After taking down his particulars, she discovered he was quite big in cider. I can't stay in bed anymore because of the endless talk of food from you, Pasosh, the highlight of which will be a perfectly ripe pa. Did you get so hungry that you couldn't finish your sentence there? Or is pa a thing? Or was that meant to be a pair? Let us know. And a little wisdom on drinking. Youth ages, immaturity is outgrown. Ignorance can be educated and drunkenness sobered, but stupid lasts forever. Aristophanes. But does it? Stupid itself, like as an archetypal state. I mean, we can't live in a world, can we, where we have people saying about other people, stupid is incurable and stupid lasts forever. What sort of world is that? We have to give people the chance and ourselves the chance to grow in our intelligence. I'm not comfortable with that, Aristophanes, and I'd say it to your face if you are still here. Thanks for that, Pete. More comments coming in. Why not just get more lassies? They can always tell you when Jimmy has fallen down the well. I have Portuglish staying with me, and I'm sure he still thinks the donkey is a technological advance. I bet if Andy was watching that video, he would have been, look at the engineering on that. That device, says Antonio, to bring the water from the well is called Nora. Probably Nora rather than Nora. Nora also means daughter-in-law. That's nice to know. And Nora is, of course, certainly in the UK. I don't know about in other parts of the world. Nora, I knew a woman called Nora once. It's not a beginning of a joke. It's a true story. I knew a woman called Nora. But it also is the part of you might say when you're expleting, flipping Nora or worse for some reason. So thank you for that. Say again? Oh, and Nitty Nora, the knit nurse at school. Not that I had one of those. I hear others did. I believe with that reference, it would be Timmy down the well, says James. Maybe it varies from country to country. Let's not fall out about that or fall in. Yes, I have a Google's Portugal Natural Wonders map. Something to thank Google for then. What is that? And where can we get one? Sounds interesting, Jenny. Have we got a link to that? I'm not sure what that is. It was a great advance, the Nora. Of course it was a few thousand years ago. That's technology for you, isn't it? Unimaginable as it is now, we will look back and laugh at the Tesla. I mean, some people already do, but there will come a time when of course there will, when human beings do that. That's just the nature of things, isn't it? And sometimes it's really hard to imagine, but of course we will. It makes me, or have we got there, everybody? Have we arrived at the pristine and ideal state of humanity where we need no further technological advances? Somehow, I think not. Makes me wonder about the status of Noras, and those Noras are believed to have been introduced in Iberia by the Muslims. Noras, so a Muslim advance there here in Portugal. Where would you date that, Antonio? If that sounds like a good Portugal quiz for me, a good question, and for our repository. Some see it as a suppository of information, as gushing as it is over at learnaboutportugal.com. When would you date that, Antonio? If I can push on you to do a little bit more research this morning. Yes, being tied to a donkey or replacing the donkey altogether. Is that the advance? Best advance is what 3 words and sat nav, God bless them both. There you go, as an alternative to Google. The hive mind coming up with alternatives should you be grumpy with Google. And Ray Thompson is in. Nora is a daughter-in-law. Thank you, Ray. Good to see you here. And always good to see somebody in the community being prompted to speak by something they hear or see on the show. And yes, when it comes to what's on, I guess Google, again, are getting in the mix there, aren't they? We've got our GuMPer map, of course, which is Google technology. And when you search for things, anyone else notice this? I certainly, since I've come to Portugal, and I think with how Google are choking the on-ramp to the internet, if you search for things, they're giving you what they want you to see. It's not 1999 anymore, is it? Where you search on the internet and get to see things. Well, you don't want to see, obviously, in 1999 and any time on the internet, you get to see things occasionally you never wanted to see and didn't even know existed. But there is something really awful going on with search at the moment. So is what 3 words one of those alternatives that might give you a broader reach and not just serve up stuff that Google has a commercial connection to, Jeff? And all the donkeys were in Anchorage last week in the running of the donkeys. That is a hilarious event, which of course is on the GuMPer map and from which we've seen video. Okay, I would like Martine. Are you getting any takers this morning? Thank you very much for being here. And Noras must have been introduced in the 8th century AD or later as the Muslims invaded Iberia in 711 AD. Martine, come on. You've made your point. If you keep doing that, I am going to have to block you from the show. What do you think about that, Alan Partridge? Right. An unboxing moment for you now. This came in the post to me just recently. Very pleased I am with what I think it might be in this box at the moment because I had a few delivered. So let's have a look inside this box, shall we? A perfectly inoffensive, ordinary cardboard box. If I was a proper YouTuber, I would have manicured my fingers, wouldn't I? And painted them up and done them in with some amazing nails, a nail setup, but I'm struggling to get the box open, which is also what they do. I've noticed on these unboxing videos, they make it a little bit harder than it naturally is, don't they? But actually, genuinely, I was opening the wrong orifice. Hate it when that happens. Yes, I was trying to get into it in the wrong way, and if I open it for you like this, it might drop out and smash on my mixing desk. Oh, what's that inside the box, Carl? I hear you ask. So let me do a reveal on it and show you that face of a Good Morning Portugal mug. Thank you for your mug shots that are coming in on 913-590-303. And let me turn it around for you as well. And look, everybody, it's the new Be Portuguese About It. What a mug. Thank you. Best review, well, only review so far. And there it is, the Be Portuguese About It mug. And if I share if I can hold my arm up long enough, because it is a little bit weary after yesterday's visit to the gym. Honestly, it's a little bit of a struggle holding it up this long, as it were. And I want to share with you, where's it gone? Oh, the GuMPer store at Shopify. Here we go. If you want to get one of your own, you can do so at the GuMPer store on Shopify, and I will give you the link for that as well. I'm gonna have to put my arm down now or rest it on the desk, and I'll put that into the chat. If I get rid of my screen surround, you'll get a better idea of what's going on here. So there you go. There it is. The Be Portuguese About It. I've seen busier shops, I'll be honest, over at Shopify, but there's ours. With a single product in at the moment. It's a bit of an experiment. Shopify actually costs quite a bit to run, and it might be a bit beyond our merchandising aspirations at the moment. But if you want a mug, there it is. Be Portuguese About It. There's tax in there, and I think you'll be paying postage on top. So it's not a cheap item, but it will become very collectible, I am sure. The Be Portuguese About It mug. There you go. I will put the link to it in the chat for you now. I think it's the first mug unboxing I've ever done. There you go. There is the link to the shop, and I think it's time. Let me put it on the screen as well. There you go. Yes, goodmorningportugal.myshopify.com for your Be Portuguese About It mug. Martine, you're becoming a pest now. So let's get rid of Martine, and get you banned from. Actually, how do I do that? I can't see how to do it. I can see how to star the comment, which I don't really want to do, but I can't see. Where's my blocking facility gone? Not even right click is working on that. So sorry, everybody. You are all getting a personal message from Martine now in the chat. So enjoy that. And it looks like you stand the chance to win 800,000 euros, you lucky people. So let's welcome Mrs. M in just a moment. He's busy doing something over there. You're doing finishing touches. Let's have a look at some Portugal news this morning, Mrs. M. I will duplicate your screen in just a moment, and I'll share with you. Sorry, yes, you are coming on or not. Don't be like that. Don't be. Is it this the advent of this barefoot broadcasting that? Chop, busy. Time is money. Okay. All right. Yeah. Keep talking to me. And what do you think of the big slug? Have you seen bigger?
Just
what you do with it that counts.
I would send
If you saw that, what would you do with it?
I'd throw it over the neighbour's garden.
Right. I bet they can.
To be fair, they don't live there.
What, the neighbours?
Yeah.
Right.
But all the slugs do.
That does that strike terror into you as an allotment owner, as a gardener?
No.
Why? Because it's already in your neighbour's garden. But
Exactly.
ordinarily, that bad boy there is going to be able to eat a lot of cabbage and lettuce, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you also for your mugshot, James.
Sorry, I
this
don't
morning.
sound
Good
very
morning, Portugal.
excited, do I?
He's learning Portuguese. You
I'm
don't sound very
actually-
excited. What about being here?
No. About like cabbages. I'm not that bothered about our cabbages. So that's why I'm not that bothered.
Right. What's happened to you?
I don't know. I think I realised we grow cabbages every year and we never eat any of them, and so
Well, there
the
is
slugs
that.
might as well have them.
Right. Okay.
Is that wrong?
Let's get you onto the screen. Okay. Well, we've begun to notice, have we not, that perhaps those tall cabbages you see in Portugal are not for eating. They're almost ceremonial, aren't they? Or part of the perimeter, I think. Although they're a bit
like hedging.
Or apocalypse food. You wouldn't eat them ordinarily, but in bad times they're there if you need them.
Yes, exactly.
And they are edible to make a stone soup from.
Yeah.
As an ingredient. So tell us more then, Mrs. M, about this upcoming Barefoot broadcast project. Is it too early to do so, or are you happy to whet some appetite?
Well, I'm a little bit nervous about it.
Seriously?
Yeah, because I haven't done any prep for it.
Right. And
I've been talking about it.
When's it launching?
Well, I'm not sure. It gets worse. Right. I mean, officially.
Are you in a bit of a spin about it?
Officially next Monday.
Yeah.
But I'd like to give it a trial on a Thursday and Friday this week.
Yeah.
But that's really dependent on getting my arse in gear. I mean, really, it's not difficult to set up a show.
Right. So what's the problem then?
I haven't invited any guests yet, and
but I often leave that until the night before.
I know, but
so that's okay.
You've been doing your show for 4 years, and I'd like to start it as the way, as I'd like to continue.
You'd like to do yours properly.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, you have a kind of long, slow. There's no offense to you.
A long, slow, lazy delivery.
No. I was going to say a long, slow evolution. You let your projects evolve very spontaneously. I'd like, I'm also going to be. See, this is your job, isn't it?
Yeah.
This isn't going to be my job. This is going to be like a hobby, and I still have to manage my other business on the side. So I want to get it really streamlined so that it can be fun.
Right. Okay.
And that it's not going to take up too much of my time and mess up my actual real career. So
wow, sounding like quite the balance here. We've still got.
It's really hard for me to get the balance because whenever I launch things, they often end up being too much for me. But I really feel like I want to do it. I really want to create something whereby people hang out and feel happy.
Because here's the thing: when you were describing it, it was feeling like, oh my god, this is a push and quite an effort, and like, why is she bothering if it's so much darn hard work? But your mission,
it's worth it because like when I interview people who are involved in happiness and who've got life transforming stories and who share some amazing anecdotes and tools for wellness and things like that, it sets my day up for and I get feedback from people.
Yes.
Not many people watch me usually, but I do get feedback, and for those that do watch, it really makes a difference, and so I really want to do it.
Okay, so tell us more about this. Yeah, the mission, the passion behind it, and why it's so important at this time in human history, perhaps.
Do you know what? I realise that I've bored myself in the last few years. I've got really caught up in polarity and duality consciousness.
Oh,
in case that sounds like gobbledygook, I've got really caught up in who's right, who's wrong, what's right, what's wrong.
Yeah.
Do we follow the narrative or not? Then because a lot of my clients are American, I've been very much pulled. I've got clients from all different political persuasions, and so I feel like there's this awful soup of judgment going on right now. And I would just like to but I'd like to provide a bit of an antidote for it, so that people can just get up in the morning and think, I don't need to even participate in all these problems, you know, that we can sidestep it. I just want it to be a safe place where people can kind of leave their judgments at the side and just come out and be human. I mean, do you remember the days like before 3 years ago? before 4 years ago.
Why don't you call the show Before 3 Years Ago? Bit like, what 3 words? No, go on. What?
Like, you know, before 3 years ago, and I've got pretty much the same clients. I've got more clients now than I had 3 years ago, but I've still got most of my core ones. And I had no idea what people's politics were. I had no idea what people's ideas on health and healing were.
Yes.
I had no idea. All I knew was that person was an individual who had who wanted to feel better. But that's why most people have coaches and astrologers.
Yes.
You know, they want to be able to direct their joy and orchestrate it somewhat. And you know, since 3 years ago, all of a sudden people feel, and not everyone. So if you are a client and you're listening and you're going, I don't do that, I'm really sorry, because I know some of your community are my clients as well. But yeah, I'm not bored of you, but I want to provide something that takes everybody out of that space. And I'm sure these kind of situations will come up and people will want to talk about them. And I want there to be a light-hearted conversation. I want us to be able to just at the end of the day, just agree we're all humans. You know, before we had all these labels stuck on us like conspiracy theorist or normie or whatever.
Cheap.
Yeah.
Woke.
Yeah. And we touched on this last week, and I can see it raises people's shoulders a little bit, and people bristle, don't they? So, you know, even if I'm agreeing with them and saying, hey, yeah, I agree, the labels suck. You know, once people start to get into that mindset, they get really stiff. And, you know, I'd like, you know,
changes the atmosphere, doesn't it?
If people are going to stiffen, let them stiffen for intimacy reasons with their partners.
Oh, I see what you did there. Summer of love, not summer of hate.
Exactly. Let it not be that people are stiffening, you know, because of upset. You know, let's create, and also from a metaphysical perspective, which might not fascinate all of your audience, but you know, I truly believe that, you know, the world is kind of run with like fractals. You know, I always see whatever's going on outside of us is also what's going on inside of us, you know, like this as above, so below. And I think if each of us internally can just feel really relaxed and out of the argument and starting to, you know, integrate our own views and stop feeling so kind of pulled in different directions, then maybe that will reflect out in the world. Now, obviously, I don't think I can change the world like that. And I don't want to. That's arrogant. It's not my job. However, I think the more things like this that kind of spring up, I think the more people do things like this. And I think, you know, it doesn't take long before we all start like breaking out in song and start singing Kumbaya and plaiting each other's hair and whatnot. So
can you help anybody who wants to be woke?
What is that actual question?
Yeah, I want to be woke though. Now,
you can still be woke. You can just not be woke in my show. You know, be woke, fine. There's nothing wrong with being woke. Do you know what? You know, like it's the word woke, I think, that is the terrible.
Be what you want, right?
Yeah, I think people should be what they want, but let's not hate on each other. And like, if you identify as woke, or if you identify as a conspiracy theorist, or if you identify as this, that, and the other, it colors your whole life. You know, because you're thinking, well, this is my position. And then every other thing that you see that's not your position, immediately at some level in your unconscious mind, it creates an opposition for you. It creates,
and that's the problem, isn't
separation.
It? The word is not the problem, or the term of abuse is not the problem. It's being like that is making a world that you don't really want to be.
Well, I think
involved in.
No, I do. Right? I do think the word is a problem because it conjures up a kind of identikit.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see woke necessarily being a positive term or a negative term. However, it's positive to people that think it's a good thing, and it's negative to people that think it's a bad thing. However, it's what you do with it. You know,
again, like
are
I said,
you using?
It,
I mean, what I would ask, Darren, is: are you using your viewpoints to beat up other people mentally? Are you using your viewpoint to feel superior towards other people. That's when things like
what's wrong with that?
Well, that's when things like being woke creates division and creates separation from people.
And again, there's nothing wrong with that, is there?
There's nothing wrong with it.
But there are effects of it.
Yeah.
And I guess the question we might ask ourselves, because I share this view with you, fortunately, is what's the effect when things get weaponized as they seem to have done? And this is since 3 years ago, or whatever the phrase was you had, the polarization, weaponization seems to have intensified, and it's best to not keep saying that, because that doesn't help either, does it? And it's so important to will you have space? This is my question. Will you have space to discuss what people mean and look at the effect? Is that the idea, rather than it being is woke? You see, this would be a Daily Mail debate, wouldn't it? Or a Jeremy
ruining the world.
Is woke a positive term? And I want to be involved, because I was very woke in my 20s, as I understand it, but I want to explain that and reflect on the benefits, the non-benefits, and what it meant, and for it to be entertaining and informative, rather than just a way of shutting down a conversation. That's the problem we've got, isn't it, in a lot of these scenarios, is that it's a way of having some people be right, others being wrong. And where do you go after that? Well, to the Barefoot Broadcast.
Nice link.
Yeah.
I mean, Darren, I agree. It's probably like, I understand why you don't say it in your modern day life. Like you said, in my real life, I never say the words. Jenny, I like this, labels are limiting. I mean, we do need labels at some level to be able to, our communication is like a contract, isn't it? We're always saying, oh, can you pass me the scissors? If we don't have this as a word, as a noun, how do I know that that's what he wants? And sometimes, we do come a cropper in the kitchen, don't we? I'm like, what is it you want?
Pass the thing over there. So labels are really helpful, aren't they?
They are really helpful.
Yes.
And I think they're also very, they create separation as well.
And can we have the presence of mind and time together to consider when they are and when they aren't? I mean, isn't that the thing here?
Yeah.
Is that we could, I mean, it's not like we're short of time, really, is it?
No.
And we could take the time and give people the respect to say, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
When you say, the Mandarin baboon.
Well, I mean, this comment here from Darren on the screen, it's been made, woke has been made a bad thing by recent influencers.
Yes.
Well, isn't that an interesting thing? I wonder what you mean by that, because
I think he's right that some have.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, what I would be interested in is to find out what your definitions of being woke is.
Yeah. There you go. You've got a guest. You said you haven't invited any guests yet. I think Darren's perfect to discuss this, for sure.
Because also often we have often the things we identify with is because of a fear that we have in our own lives. So, for instance, I know lots of people who whose political views are absolutely swayed by what they see as a personal attack or a personal fear. And of course that's going to play into it. And I think the media, I see that you say influencers have ruined the word woke, and maybe they have. However, I also think the media is one of these tools that has been used to really it's a method that's been used to put these words into mass consciousness. And then the influencers, I mean, I think there are lots of paid influencers out there, like loads of them.
Yeah, well, it goes back to the conversation before, doesn't it, about the food industry?
Yeah.
When Coach Turner first had the Scouts had a poster up saying eat lots of vegetables and oily fish, presumably in those days, in the good old days, there was a good intent behind it. It wasn't entirely riddled by vested interests and the whole business of hogging the agenda or using every possible visual and audio visual tool around us in our landscape to manipulate people with a certain kind of message. That is where we're at, I think, isn't it? There's a lot of that is going on. I'm not free of it here. I have an agenda. I'd be disingenuous, wouldn't I, to say oh, it's completely objective and you know, I don't have any agenda at all. Of course, everyone has an agenda, don't they? What I would say in my defense is that I'm open to people challenging me or talking to me about my agenda, and that's the kind of media landscape I would like to belong to be part of, and change the direction of travel, I suppose, which is what the Barefoot Broadcast is about as well.
Yeah.
And as you say here, Jenny, people are works of progress. That's why I'm uncomfortable with this idea of stupid is incurable. It hurts me actually when I see those sort of memes or T-shirts, you know, where stupid is you can't cure stupid or whatever as a put down for other people. It's just like, it's so disrespectful.
Well,
and you might not like their behavior, and they might have done something which you call stupid, which you might all agree on is pretty stupid. But to have that as a cancel, as a summary judgment, and to give them no space for redemption, that's not a world I want to live in.
Yeah. The Ancient Mariner's back.
Ancient Mariner is back. He's like, he's darkened our door.
Can I just go before we go to Ancient Mariner? Can I
Yeah.
I really agree, and I really like what you're putting there, Darren. You've put a couple of things about what woke is about, like from your perspective. So you're saying woke is about being aware of things. The funny thing is when and this is something that I notice, is when people say, oh, woke is about being aware of things, at some level there's an implication that anything that's not woke is about not being aware of things. And
yes, that's what becomes weaponized and polarized.
Yeah. And like, you don't realize, and nobody realizes really just how how these words can get weaponized. But the funny thing is, like, anyone that considers themselves to be unwoke is likely to be quite triggered by that.
Yeah.
Because you know, there are lots of people who maybe consider themselves to be truthers or conspiracy theorists, or people who do a lot of research, or people who maybe don't always agree with the narrative. And they also consider it's about being aware of things that other people aren't. And so I think, you know, these labels, it's more about, like, let's all talk about what we are, like, what we're talking, like, let's find out what we're all talking about here. You know, I think when we dig down into everybody's views and actually talk to each other and actually listen to each other and ask questions, what we normally find out is actually that we're all coming from a place of love, and we're all coming from a place of fear at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, we're all frightened of certain things, and we all want to be loved. We all need to be accepted at some level. And so the purpose of the show isn't really to talk about all this stuff.
It's not.
It's more to talk about how we can feel great every day, and how we can, you know, when something comes up.
Sorry, that's my fault, because I you know, I do like this debate, and and not for mischief's sake. I just find it really interesting that you know, to have this wokeness about wokeness, if you like, or whatever.
It's really funny because, like, there's a lot of people that consider themselves to be awake.
Well, I used to refer to myself as an awakened being.
Yeah.
Until I realised what a pompous, self-absorbed twat I sounded. Yeah, and there is, like Jenny says, you know, we were all works in progress, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
We really are.
Yeah.
And, like, there isn't anything, like, you know, there is no real answer to anything. But all I'm wanting to do is create a feeling, you know, so that people can come, we can hang out, we can talk, we can, like, you know, I'm having guests on my show that have got different stories, different life stories. And I think it's in the sharing and keeping the conversation open. And you know, I'm just hopeful that it's going to have a good feel.
But you
day.
won't have.
And Darren, I really feel for you. You know, like, you know, I love that. You know, you are wanting to be aware of things. I think that's really important.
Bloody right, definitely. And if you want to feel better, stop thinking like you think and start thinking like I think. That happens, doesn't it? And we, you know, and we all think that from time to time, don't we? We all come from that place. And I guess one very positive definition of woke would be to be awake enough to see that that's what's going on in you. That comment that's on the screen right now. Amazing. Let's go to some comments if we can.
You know, yeah, sure. I also think it's important to, you know, like, when we're talking about our views, is to find out how is it working out for you.
Exactly. What's the result? What are your results?
A really good question.
Yeah.
And
how's that working out for you?
How happy have you been since you've identified.
Well, I'm fine, thanks. I'm fine.
Because this is the thing that
It's going great.
This is the thing that's been arising in me over the, especially the last 6 months, is actually being so tied into, what I'm thinking. It feels like it's taking up too much time. I actually just want to go back into feeling joyful.
You did start this by saying you're tired of it, didn't you?
Yeah.
And this is a realization of that, isn't it?
I just want to meet up with people that want to connect with others.
Yes.
Across the board. It doesn't matter what political affiliation we have, what kind of spiritual affiliation we have. It's about having a conversation and sharing and raising each other up.
So this whole
and it's about taking responsibility.
The polarity debate, if there is such a thing, is a contextual issue. It's not the main focus of the show.
No, definitely not.
Okay, so don't worry, Darren, you are woke, and you know what? It's pretty good, says Pete there. And Darren saying woke is a positive term, which we have discussed. Others coming forward, like Owen. Can I come on your show, Louisa? I'd like to talk about BLM. That'll be a spicy one, won't it? That'll be a spicy one.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, that sounds like a flipping nightmare of a show. But you know what? I think we should I think it should be a place where we can talk about stories from our own experience.
It'll be a test of the atmosphere and context and principles.
Let me get it going first.
Okay. I'm actually trying to turn the table, says Darren, back to woke being a positive term as it used to be a few years ago. And it doesn't use it in real life. That's how Pete identifies, but I can't even say that, so I won't even attempt it. Labels are limiting. Festas e areias. Todas as festas e areias num só lugar. Divertam-se. Have fun. I'm not sure what you mean, Eurico, but thank you for being here.
I think it's saying where you can.
So that is the name of a publication or a website, is it? Festas e areias?
No, I think it's what you do a search on, isn't it?
Okay, thank you very much.
I don't know.
Okay,
I'm guessing.
Num só lugar, like no such place. I don't know. There is no such place for all those. I don't know. That needs a translation. Maybe somebody could help me with that.
Where's the ancient mariner gone?
This is not. We'll get to the ancient mariner. Labels simply summarize what's in the jar. And I do like this, Jenny. Thank you. People are works of progress. When are you coming on the show, Jenny? I haven't forgotten. I hope you haven't forgotten my invitation to you. An interesting person who we would love to talk to here. Staring at the eagles and vultures circling above the prey this morning. I'm pretty sure they don't have time to identify it as anything but hungry. Yes. Objective human is an oxymoron. There you go. And there has been a sustained agenda. Here's the ancient mariner. You are asking, and here he is, to deconstruct exogenous values and structures, family, religion, and civil society, and replace them with endogenous personal concepts revolving around spectacle, instant gratification, and celebrity. One of the hallmarks of the end of empire. Hey, ancient mariner.
I'd like to put that into plain speak, if I may. I would agree that what I read when I how I experienced that ancient mariner is that there has been an attempt to kind of de-identify or take away the importance of family and community and traditions and replace them with a kind of homogenized celebrity world.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that what you meant?
Ubi, I drew him out with a mango baboon, whatever he calls him, comment. This is the sort of thing that probably isn't massively welcome on the Barefoot broadcast. Okay, we get it. We get it every time you mention it, Ubi, what your political views are. But there's not a lot of, there's not much to go at in there, Ubi, quite frankly. Your feelings are well expressed and poetically so. But, what do you do? Where do you go from there, having made, millions of people wrong? And who probably just want to insult you in the same way. That's not a world I want to live in.
Oh, Ubi,
I find
you can come on our show and let's talk.
Does he get like 5 minutes to get it all off his chest so he can stop banging on like
we
that?
did talk about having a
moaning.
What was it? Like get it off your chest.
Yeah, and then we'll get to the real reason why you're saying it, like the unhealed aspects of your childhood.
Do you know what I mean? When you say that, I think about what it's like when our kids get upset about something.
Yeah.
You're
just a poo-poo head.
They get really angry. One of our kids came and said, "You're an idiot."
Didn't he?
That was our 4-year-old.
Yeah, I'd have been put over a knee and spanked for that, wouldn't I?
Oh my God, I'd have been spanked so hard for that. but you know, like when, like, you know, kids show it really, really easy, you know, like they get angry, they get fiery, the accusations all over the place and judgments like you're an idiot. But actually when he got, like, when he was listened to and he broke down, you find out what's underneath, and it's just like, I'm hungry, or I'm cold, or I don't feel like I'm loved in this moment.
Yes, Uber, you're loved. You're loved. And never mind what all those people are up to. You don't have to, I don't know, you don't have to put them down at every opportunity to feel good yourself. We love you as you are. I find it worrying that so much has been reduced to the X experience rather than the skill or virtue associated with doing it. Yes, I would agree with that. Not that that matters, by the way. It's all spectacle, and I'm sorry that your door is darkened.
Oh my goodness, where did you get that from, Ancient Mariner?
What, these unwelcome?
Your comments are so welcome.
Get away with your Daily Mail reading pomposity.
Ancient Mariner, your comments are so welcome.
But this is a thing. This is a thing. I noticed that some outspoken people then finish with, "I'll go back to listening passively again if that's preferable."
Please don't listen passively.
Come on, we love your
input, and I only put it into my own words just to make sure I got the context of it.
And the thing about asserting yourself, I think it's important not to go back listening passively. Stick around and clear up the mess. Ancient Mariner. Why? Stick around and clear up the mess, having chucked a grenade in.
That was a bit of a grenade. Yes. I would like to ask you, Ancient Mariner, why do you think your comments are unwelcome?
Yeah, right. Yeah. We've not said that.
We haven't said that at all.
You know, I have banned someone this morning, but that's because they were just spamming. It was just annoying. It was just annoying. So, good morning. I just woke. What are we talking about? See what you did there. Quick, there's a quiz question and some dad jokes to come. And this won't happen.
That's the other thing I want to do on the show.
What, end at 10 o'clock?
I want you to end at 10 o'clock, but I'd like us to have some kind of jokes as well, you know, where we have some lightheartedness, because I think in recent times people have got like so offended and so upset and so this and so that. So I want to like also poke a little bit of fun and try and laugh at ourselves a little bit.
Okay, nescient, the nescient state. That's interesting. I'll look that up after the show. And although Darren claims to be woke, he's actually half asleep most of the time.
Fantastic.
Very good. I concur, says Pete. What I love about Portugal is the community with the Ancient Mariner, a mix of ages and bureaucracy that comes straight out of the Hitchhiker's Guide. You keep knocking them out. Very interesting discussion.
Yeah,
here,
everyone likes you.
Carpe diem, Wayne. I look at kids and wish we all had that freedom to say what we feel without upsetting anyone.
Yeah,
you're an idiot.
No, they're not an idiot, but like.
No, but that's what our kid said, isn't it? Our 4-year-old kid got mad and said, "You're an idiot." Well, he said it to me, didn't he?
Yeah.
And we are in a different age. That would, I'd still be paying for that.
Yeah, I'd still be grounded.
That would have hurt my mum and dad so badly. They would not have been able to recover from that.
And actually,
I took a breath, I must admit, and I'm thinking, what do I do about this? But I think we're okay. I think we're good.
Yeah. And when he'd gone, we kind of laughed about it.
We did, didn't we?
But we didn't let him know.
I laughed at the time. I would be interested in being on your show. I think you also said, look, your comment. Another guest, Jeff. Here. I wish, Jeff, it has been noted, I wish everyone was coming from a place of love. You had a hard workout yesterday. I need to know about that, Aviva. I wish everyone was coming from a place of love, but that all depends on the psychology and ideology of an individual. Deep down, though, Aviva, they are, aren't they? Even if it comes out funny. We all wake up, we all fall asleep. So for me, it's really about staying awake longer and falling asleep less frequently. True. Result is surviving. Perhaps the subtitle for the new show could be "Let's Talk About Love."
Ooh, I like that. Good.
And great discussion, says Leela. Thank you for sending your CV. We'll see what we can do to help you. In the good old days, says Jenny, we kept our political views to ourselves.
Yeah, it's true.
It's got very polarizing, and the answers won't come from the politicians.
That is so true.
But my mum and dad be able to say it without the bloody inquest.
Do you know what? My mum and dad never knew how each other voted.
Yeah.
And they always assumed they voted the same.
They didn't even talk to each other about it. Wow.
No, and I know my ex-boyfriends, like their parents never spoke about it either. Yeah, okay. And they didn't speak about it with their children. They had open conversations at the dinner table, but never really pushed.
Wow. Well, I think knowing your mum and dad as I do, their fun take on politics would be having a quickie in the polling booth. Yes, it is the site.
Back in the day,
Yes, exactly. What's going on in there? One at a time, please. Work it out with a pencil. I just put an X in the box. Well, hey, get in. I think the ancient mariner described commercialism, encourage personalization and individualism to generate more sales. Yes, it's so much comes back to the money, doesn't it? With all of these conversations, we're trying to go, and you're not making it easy, everybody. A great way of quitting your existing job is to create your own one. Pete, I did a decade ago, and my greatest regret is not doing it earlier. It was so much fun talking about some of your earlier jobs at the weekend, Pete.
Yes, it was.
Listen to what you said when I first commented, Doug. Oh, no, I've hurt him. I didn't mean it. I just.
Oh, it was you.
It wasn't me, and
How
I didn't
dare
mean.
you.
See, this is the importance of cleaning up, isn't it? When I say darkened our door, it was like in a Western style at the saloon. You know, when everyone's just drinking quietly in the bar, and then it's. Wow, wow, wow. Here he is, the shot, the wise, sharp shooter. It wasn't that you're a bad person.
Ancient mariner, please.
Who knew?
Thank you. See, I know what he's like on a day-to-day basis. So when he says shit like that, I never pay any attention at all.
I didn't mean it in a bad way.
I'm so pleased that you wrote back and let us know
what can I do to make good?
Yeah.
Apologise would be one thing, wouldn't it? I'm sorry, I didn't mean it to be like that. I just meant it in a sort of theatrical way, not an emotional way. Oh my God. If you visit Guimarães, I thoroughly recommend Restaurant Verturas. Great food and a lovely enthusiastic service. That's it. Let's talk about food again, shall we? I am refurbishing a flat in Southampton with you on in the background. Once in a while, someone says something and I feel like chipping in. I don't feel any need to evangelize, and it's your show. You're very welcome.
You're so welcome to join us.
Okay.
And how's Southampton today? That's where my little sister lives.
So the MAGA attacks, not really a political view. I'm an independent voter with a keen eye for fascism and cults. What's the best cult you've been in, Ubi? Is it the Democrats? No, only joking. Or your independent party that you vote for? The maggots have never. You see, that's the problem. When you call people maggots, I think you've lost some ground there. Have never been Republicans, but continue to deceive with that mask. You see, on he goes. I don't even know if he knows he's doing it. Were the parties so polarized in them days too? When your mum and dad didn't know how each other voted, were they polarized? I don't think quite so.
My mum and dad, they
didn't fall out about it. They fell out about other things. They had better things to fall out about than politics, didn't they?
They had the actual real life to fall out about,
exactly, rather than a
imaginary
fabricated
life
struggle.
of how everyone else's work.
Exactly.
Because, like, we see videos and footage and this, that, and the other on the news of what's happening. And thankfully for the internet, we now realize that some of the things we get shown aren't actually true, and they're there for. Some of it's there to make us aware of things, and some of it's there also to try and make us do things.
Yeah. What, like this? Fortunately, most of the criminals will be in jail soon. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing Hunter. Oh, you didn't mean him, did you? Sorry. I'm looking forward to seeing a few people behind bars. Ubi, this could go on, couldn't it?
This could go
but
on
my homework for you, Ubi, and anyone else.
You give people homework now.
It's my show. My homework for you and anyone else who gets triggered, as I am being triggered by you, Ubi, now, because in my body, I can feel my attention has gone to a different part of like a fight or flight.
Really?
And when I see Ubi's comments that are very insulting of other people, I feel it does change my state, and I'm triggered by it. And I will look at that after the show. I will sit and look at why that is, Ubi. Can we do a deal? If you sit with your what seems to me to be quite intense anger and insulting words towards a group of society, are you prepared to sit with that and be with the feelings of it beyond they are just a bad, horrible bunch of people who, the rational level of what you think should be done with them? Are you prepared to sink into the emotion of that and see what might be triggering it? Because what we do know between the 70s, from the 70s up to now in the good old days, is people have always been triggered. But it's always been as the landscape changes, it's by something different in each decade. Or a different idea that's being introduced to us. But what doesn't change is the triggering and what's being triggered inside. The circumstances, the impulse for it, the catalyst for our triggering changes, because that's part of how the news landscape should change. But what wound is having salt put in it by these things, if we sit and consider that? So
And you're going to sit and
I'm going to
consider that
sit and
yourself?
consider why when
You feel
Ubi
triggered by
is
it?
so nasty to people in the comments, which I don't think he thinks he's being nasty. I think he thinks he's being factual.
Yeah.
Like this, maggots that take that label as a compliment as they brandish their swastikas and KKK clown tattoos. I've seen those pictures at Ubi, and I struggle with the generalization. And where do we go from there? That no wonder people are worried about America, because the sides are getting pushed further and further apart. And I think this sort of input or commentary is only helping that. If you don't want a civil war, you might need to stop talking like that. But I will look at it. Waiting for the announcement that Trump can't run because of the 14th Amendment. The rest is just non-stop speculation. Well, that's what your rolling news agenda is all about. I think that is very optimistic. Ubi was looking at a case of a fugitive in Australia who was on the run for 7 years. If you want to escape the law, move to Australia. They have the most rubbish police there. Ubi,
it would seem that
Colin,
way, yeah.
Did you see Alan Partridge earlier on, Colin? Ubi should turn off
Colin.
his mind, relax, and float downstream. Could you say that in that really brilliant microphone? Get right into it. Okay.
Ubi, hang on, put it back up.
Okay.
Carl, you're stuck in
No,
both sides of the trap.
Not that one. He's triggering me again.
Ubi, he should turn off his mind, relax, and float downstream.
And Ubi, life is too complex to have only two bath sides.
Two bath sides, did you say?
The both sides, not bath sides. I read that as bath sides.
Did you?
And I was imagining myself in a bath with Ubi.
What, relaxing?
I'm not.
Relaxing your
which
tired
I'm not going to
muscles.
sit with. I am not going to sit with that thought. No disrespect to you, Ubi. And I would, what I would love more than anything is meeting you in person one day.
Yeah.
And we discuss it over a beer, and we look at our ideas, and we look at what is going on in our bodies, not in any medical way, because neither you or I are trained in that. I don't suppose. Wow, 10:14. We have some dad jokes.
Yes, let's do the dad jokes.
And we do have a calendar. I've got a couple of things to share with you. Then let's go back to the Learn About Portugal site, where part of this what's on, that was a massive deviation. And who doesn't like a massive deviation first thing in the morning? But that was a huge deviation from the matter at hand, which is how do you find out what's going on in your neighborhood and beyond in Portugal? We're a little bit closer. Here's a calendar with a few events. If you send them to me, I can add them to our Learn About Portugal calendar. But more importantly, on the Learn About Portugal calendar or site is the question today, which I have for you. The Portugal quiz question for today, the Tuesday, the 29th of August, is Portugal's earliest human remains. Our first ever Discover Portugal weekend will be set in Aroeira, hosted by Bobby, of course, Your Home and Dynasty Homes, importantly, just south of Lisbon. This location should not be confused with the cave of Aroeira. Further up north in the country, the cave is said to be the discovery site of a 400,000-year-old relic, the earliest human trace in Portugal. What is it that was found there in 2017, Mrs. M?
Do you know what? I was still thinking about Ubi's last comment.
Were you? You see, that's what happens. You might want to sit and feel it too and see what hooked you. What hooked you? What hooked you with that?
His last comment.
Do you want to say now, or do we?
Yeah,
do we hold that?
He said, "I'll come back to your quiz in a minute, giving you a chance to do it again."
Yeah.
Maggots do want a civil war, and actually, I was, I get a little triggered, hearing people being referred to as maggots. But aside from that, what I would say is, how do you know? Where are you getting that information from?
We can't get away from this, can
are
we?
you getting it from a news source? Are you getting it because you've actually spoken to people who?
I wouldn't speak to those maggots.
Because if you're getting your information just from a news source that similarly refers to people in that way, how can you trust that that's actually true without actually having, communication and relationships with people who might get called that?
Are you suggesting that we are told and educated who to hate?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Who would do that to us?
Because
who would do that to us?
Because I have clients who are more right-leaning, and I have clients who are more left-leaning.
Yeah.
And I love them all.
Yeah.
I love them equally.
But they do say funny things about each other, don't they?
No, they don't actually. They really
I've noticed
don't.
that though.
Mine
I noticed that
don't.
in expat meetups.
Mine don't.
Yeah,
But
okay.
you know, they are you know, below the labels, they are all kind and caring people.
Yeah.
And I have noticed that, you know, people who come out of being a kind and caring person, it's usually come from some hurt. And it sounds like you're coming from some hurt, if you don't mind me saying.
Well, he's listening to Republican politicians where he gets his information from.
Well, again, that's going to the two sides. I mean, there are.
What do you think of Vivek Ramaswamy, Ubi?
I imagine Ubi doesn't like
because
Vivek.
he's a Republican, or because of what he's saying. Anyway,
No,
have we started a barefoot broadcast here inadvertently?
No.
Right, okay. Which is what you came on to discuss, Mrs. M.
I think there are. I think, you know, someone was talking about two sides earlier,
Yeah.
and I think I didn't think it so much 3 years ago at the start of all this, like the major start of this kerfuffle, but this has all been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
The seeds have been sown long ago.
Yes.
I now really believe there are two sides that are actually of the same bird, that there's it's like a controlled demolition. We are being pulled apart as people, as a race of people. We are being pulled apart. We are being pulled and encouraged to judge each other with names. We are being encouraged to insult each other, and that we're really justified in doing it, because when we see someone
it's going fairly well, isn't it?
When we see someone as being different from us, it feels okay. We feel justified in having views on each other. But if you're actually in the same room as somebody and you'd already got a rapport with them, you would probably not resort to ripping their character apart and putting names on them.
Quite.
You'd probably try to find out what's going on with them. And so what's been going on, as far as I can see, is we've all been pulled into different rooms. And I don't really identify with any of the rooms. If I identify with any, I would say
you're in the room that doesn't put people in rooms.
I'm in the room that just doesn't want to be in a room.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But and I'm sure you've got a name for that as well, probably.
A
I might be called a libertarian.
The ruminator.
But again, if I was called a libertarian, that would bring up loads of different negative connotations because of what the media said about libertarians or whatever.
Yeah.
But I just want to be able to be a decent human and do what I think is what is my moral good, and bring as much good into the world. So
and thank you for I know, because I know you
very moved by that.
I did. I felt and I could feel that, and I was moved by what you had to say about humanity at this moment and how important it is. And this has been going on for a long time, as you say. And you know, this whole thing about how we relate to each other. There was a phase of baiting racists online. Now, I mean, not in any way defending racism. What I'm bringing attention to is this spell checker racist phenomenon that was a part of the beginning of this, how it was legitimized because some people thought they were more intelligent than other people, that it was a good idea to bring to those other people's attention, I'm more intelligent than you are, you're a racist. And I was thinking to myself at the time, well, there's an interesting tactic. What's the best way to deal with racism? Why not insult and undermine the people who are doing it? And how efficient and useful a method is that for bringing an end to racism in the world? Not very, I would say. I think the answer.
Yeah, it just brings up more, doesn't it?
It brings out more hatred. It brings out more hatred. And what I think is going on is the people who are struggling with racism are triggered by the racists. And if for us to get anywhere, I think we do have to come out of the circle of triggering.
Yes.
Don't we, first and fourmost? And also, it comes back to education, doesn't it, rather than insultation, which seems to be what's going on at the moment.
There lots of protests and things like that. There have been ardent provocateurs all over the place, from the CIA, the MI6, the police force in the UK, at riots, at protests. There have been cops dressed dressed as if they're going to be like in hoodies. They've been dressed to look like they're wrong-uns. And then they've helped to incite troubles. And that's not happened.
Old tactics,
Yes,
right?
an old tactic.
Centuries
It's a really,
old.
really old tactic. So when the news reports are saying, oh, look what happened, all these people who are protesting did this, that, and the other, we need rules to come in. So they create a problem. They help to create a scenario that we then need to.
Hold on a minute. David Icke was talking about this a long time ago.
Yeah, but
Problem solution cycle.
There've been lots of revelations, where police officers have been dressed in the dress code of different people.
No, I get it. I get how
and
this works.
They won't be just dressed up as how you term maggots. They'll also be dressed up as, there are also, I think, people who Darren was talking earlier about woke is a positive word, but there are people out there, I think, who have been dressed up as woke, talking online as influencers, who are pushing the woke ideologies to the extreme to make them look like idiots too.
Yes.
And so that's what's going on. I really think there's an inside job trying to, push people further and further apart, because all we ever see are the most extreme examples. And so I would, when I see those comments, Ubi, I just, I think there's a much bigger conversation behind it.
Thank you, Mr. And thank you everybody for being drawn into the conversation and committing and sharing in the conversation. Really appreciate all of you. Neither side. I appreciate you especially. Not Squire. You. I'm pointing to you now. You especially.
You.
And everybody.
Yeah.
Thank
We're
you
all
so
people.
much. Yeah. Neither side represent the good of the people while they are being financed by corporations and lobbyists. Well, there you go.
Beautiful. I love that.
That's true. And can we be woke enough to realize that?
Yeah.
It has been the same since Historic Records began. Pete knows that as a teacher of history, of course. Triggering emotions is a way to generate views on social media.
Yes.
We're very self-aware here, aren't
Yes.
we? And I hope that continues. And I want to change. Is it a bit sort of?
Come on, let's do dad jokes.
Yeah, that I was going to ask you.
laugh.
Is that appropriate at this moment? Is that a crunch, or should we just? It's a bit like going from a hot curry to an ice cold. What's that stuff called? The ice after you sorbet. That's what's going to happen here. We're going to go from an emotionally high temperature into the funny cooling sorbet of dad jokes. So thank you though.
And I'm
not shutting this down because we don't want to talk about it.
I'm sorry if I went on a rant. I just felt so.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's a risk, isn't it? Because you shared from a deep place.
It is a real mango lassie.
He's calling you a mango lassie. She's not a mango lassie. Go to the jokes. Go to the jokes. He's like my producer in my ear. Go to the jokes. You should have done it half an hour ago. All right. Sorry. What were you going to say though? Just finally.
I just I'm.
Okay, I get it.
I think it is. I think, this is a conversation that's not resolved once or twice, or, this is something that we all commit to, to being able to witness each other, hear each other.
And we do, don't we? There are definitely people in this audience whose views I don't agree with, and I know don't agree with mine. But what I love is that we keep coming back to be together because of what I think you're talking about, Mrs. M, which is the common humanity and love over our differences.
And even if I sound like I haven't been in agreement with Ubi, I want you to know, Ubi, that I still appreciate you.
Yeah.
Whether
you like that or not.
Yes.
Right. Bringing your work home isn't so bad if you work at a liquor store. These better be good, aren't they, to lift us from where we go.
I was expecting him to come onto the screen.
Well, no, it's a different day today. T-Duck is on a special mission this morning.
Yes, he is.
If cavemen had not what you think. If cavemen had Facebook, we still wouldn't have fire. Now that's a poignant one, isn't it? And finally, if cavemen had Facebook, we still wouldn't have fire. They would be distracted. They'd be distracted by. You see, you and me are in our bellies now, aren't we? We're in where the emotions are stirred, and we're not coming from the highly rational firing on all cylinders place. We're in primal state, I suspect. Fight or flight. I start drinking as soon as the kids are in school. Does that make me a bad teacher? Peter, you can answer that. Right.
I bet Peter knows teacher.
Yes, he might know
teachers
a
who've
thing or
done
two.
that.
Yes, don't we all? But I know my teachers did. Adia Manya, everyone. Sorry, it was a 2-hour special. Not sorry, because I think we covered some important stuff. And there was a little of barefoot broadcast foreplay. You've been extremely brilliant this morning.
Yeah, but my barefoot broadcast isn't supposed to be like that.
Well, prepare for the inevitability of it occasionally being like that, I would say, from my experience of being in this situation. And tomorrow, Simone's back on tomorrow, talking about how kids make the transition from one country to another. She's something of an expert on the subject, so I look forward to her talking to her tomorrow. And, of course, ask anything about Portugal. Hump Day Wednesday. Jackie will be here from Expats Portugal with forthcoming attractions. And, look, 2 hours of Chainsaw versus GMP. It's a close one. And just to change the mood, how do you spell supercalifragilisticexpialidocious? That'll bring you into a different part of your awareness.
Yes, that really
body.
would. Yeah.
Have a great day. You've been amazing. And bye for now. Ciao, ciao, Mrs. M. Thank you so much. Ciao.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, GuMPers.